Most people think debt is just a number, a balance, a minus sign on a screen. But if you've ever stared at your ceiling at 2:17 a.m., replaying the same bill in your head, you already know that's a lie. Debt isn't math, it's pressure. It's the quiet weight sitting on your chest while you try to plan your future. It's the reason your brain feels foggy, the reason you make decisions you later regret, the reason progress feels slow or impossible. Here's the part nobody tells you. Psychologists have found that long-term financial stress can reduce your effective decision-making ability by the equivalent of losing more than 10 IQ points. Not because you're lazy, not because you're bad with money, but because your mind is stuck in survival mode, and that's the trap. Because when your brain is under pressure, it stops thinking long-term. You don't build systems, you don't plan, you react. You pay the minimum, you delay the future, you hope for relief. But what if the thing suffocating you is also the raw material for your escape? What if debt isn't just a trap? What if it's fuel? Today, I want to show you something most people never learn. Not how to get out of debt. That's too small. Today, we're going to talk about the wealth loop system, a way to convert bad debt into assets, to reverse the direction of money, and to turn financial stress into forward momentum. This isn't motivation, this is mechanics. And once you see it, you'll never look at debt the same way again. The vicious cycle most people live in. Let's start with reality. Most people are stuck in what economists and behavioral psychologists call a vicious financial cycle. Money comes in, and before it even has a chance to do anything useful, it disappears into the past. Interest payments, minimum balances, old decisions you can't undo. Every paycheck arrives already wounded. Here's a way to think about it. Every dollar you earn is like a soldier. You could send that soldier out to build assets, protect your future, and generate income. But when you carry high-interest consumer debt, those soldiers are immediately captured. They're forced to fight against you, working for banks, credit card companies, and lenders instead. And here's the psychological twist. The pain of looking at debt is so uncomfortable that your brain tries to avoid it entirely. This is called the ostrich effect. You automate the minimum payment. You stop checking balances. You tell yourself, I'll deal with it later. Meanwhile, interest never sleeps. It compounds quietly, relentlessly, 24 hours a day. This is what bad debt does. It extracts value from your future without creating anything new in return. You're not just paying money. You're paying attention, energy, and mental clarity. And that's why debt feels so heavy. The shift, not all debt, is the enemy. Here's where most advice goes wrong. You've probably heard this your entire life. Debt is bad. Avoid it at all costs. Sounds responsible, feels safe, but it's incomplete because the wealthy don't avoid debt. They collect it. They just use a different kind. The problem isn't that you have debt. The problem is that your debt is lazy. It's sitting on your couch, eating your food, and contributing nothing. The wealthy don't tolerate lazy debt. They use debt that is low interest, often tax advantaged, and tied directly to assets that grow or generate cash flow. In other words, debt that works. This is where the wealth loop begins. Now the wealth loop, the core mechanism. The wealth loop system is simple in concept but powerful in execution. The goal is not just to eliminate bad debt. The goal is to recycle it, to take money that used to flow away from you and redirect it back toward asset ownership. Here was the loop. 1. Reduce the cost of bad debt. Free up cash flow. 3. Redirect that cash flow into assets. 4. Let those assets generate returns. 5. Use returns to accelerate debt payoff or acquire more assets. Instead of money moving in a straight line from paycheck to bill to nothing, you create a flywheel, a loop, momentum. Let's break this down in real terms. Phase 1. Stop the bleeding. Before you build wealth, you need breathing room. Step 1 is brutal honesty. You write down every single debt you have. Balance, interest rate, minimum payment. That interest rate is the drag on your engine. A 22% credit card isn't just expensive, it's a guaranteed loss. If you pay off a 22% interest rate, you've earned a risk-free 22% return. There's no stock market investment that guarantees that. This is why Phase 1 focuses on optimization. That might mean a 0% balance transfer, a lower interest personal loan, debt consolidation, or restructuring payments strategically. The method matters less than the outcome. You are lowering the cost of survival. And here's something important. Finance is emotional. If wiping out a small balance gives you a psychological win, use that. Momentum matters. The real goal of Phase 1 isn't perfection, it's mental clarity. Phase 2, the moment most people fail, recycling the cash flow. Now comes the critical fork in the road. Let's say you eliminate a credit card payment. Suddenly, you have an extra $300 a month. This is where most people make the same mistake. They feel relief and immediately upgrade their lifestyle. New subscriptions, more dining out, a reward for being responsible. And 6 months later, the debt is back because they fixed the math, but not the system. The wealth loop demands something different. You take that $300, a payment you were already used to making, and you automate it into assets immediately. No pause, no decision, no temptation. This could be a low-cost index fund, a high-yield savings account, paying down mortgage principal, or funding a small income-producing asset. This is debt recycling. You are borrowing discipline from your past self to invest in your future self. Phase 3. Assets become the new engine. Here's where things start to change. As assets grow, they do something powerful. They create options. Assets can generate income, appreciate over time, be used as collateral, reduce dependence on earned income. This is how the wealthy operate. They don't sell assets to buy things. They borrow against assets at low rates, while the asset itself keeps growing. That's the destination of the wealth loop. When your assets begin paying for your liabilities, you exit the rat race quietly, not with fireworks, with systems. The warning: leverage is a blade, not a toy. Now let's slow down, because this is where people get hurt. Debt is leverage, and leverage magnifies everything. Used correctly, it accelerates progress. Used recklessly, it destroys lives. You cannot build a wealth loop without discipline. If you consolidate debt but keep the same habits, you haven't built a system, you've built a trap. Behavior matters more than math. You must change identity. You're no longer a spender trying to survive. You are a capital allocator in training. Every dollar has a job. The real transformation, reversing the river, turning bad debt into a wealth loop, isn't magic, it's engineering. You're reversing the flow of money. Instead of money constantly leaving your life, you dig channels that bring it back. It will feel slow at first, painfully slow. There will be months where nothing exciting happens. But then something shifts. The fog lifts, the pressure eases, your brain comes back online, you stop reacting and start building. And once that loop starts spinning, it gets harder to stop than to continue. Most people will keep pushing the boulder uphill forever, paying for the past, stressing about the future. A few people build wheels instead. The wealth loop isn't about being rich. It's about control. Control over your time, your attention, your decisions. If you're ready to stop surviving and start designing, you're in the right place. We break down systems like this every week, the things schools never teach but the wealthy quietly use. Subscribe, stay curious, and let's keep building. I'll see you in the next one.